Hi, how's it going? My name is Jenna and I am a marketing strategist. I've held this specific role for almost 2 years now, and I know that when you're navigating the world of marketing titles and roles and what it looks like to move up a marketing ladder, the different titles for roles can be a little bit confusing. Like, what's the difference between a marketing specialist, a digital content coordinator, a digital marketing specialist, a marketing strategist, a marketing manager, marketing director, etc. What does that all look like? And I have held many of these roles within my career so far. First, I'm going to just break down exclusively what a marketing strategist does, and then I'm going to talk about the differences of a marketing strategist versus marketing specialist versus digital content coordinator or digital marketing specialist and marketing manager, what those look like, how they're different, and then at the very end, we're going to talk about salary range and salary expectations, because I have done, this is the third video like this that I have done, and I find that people who are attracted to it are usually going into an interview for this kind of a role, or they're about to apply for this kind of a role. They need to know salary, you need to know salary expectations that you're walking into. What are the ranges? What can you expect would be on the low end, average end? What could you ask for or negotiate for? This is supposed to help and empower you for that. So number one, it's going to be market and competitive analysis. What this means is that when we have a client, so I work for a creative agency, so when we have a client come in, I will look at their position in the marketplace, as in, what is their market share? What is the unique niche of their market that they own? Who are their competitors and how are they performing against their competitors, both in a digital snapshot kind of way, like how their website is performing against a competitor's website, or how their digital ads are performing against a competitor's digital ads. So we have tools and resources where I can pull all of that data and information and kind of find those insights for them by identifying the niche that they fit neatly into and how they can carve out a unique position for themselves. I'm able to set themselves up for more closely tied messaging and positioning and target audiences in order to reach who they're actually speaking to and serving, because sometimes there's going to be an idea formed in a client's mind of the value that they offer and how they're communicating it, but that there may be a little bit of a disconnect between where they think they are and where they should be in order to grow and scale over the next few years for them. Similar to it is identifying target audiences, and so this falls very closely in line with that same research and analysis that a marketing strategist is doing, but they're actually identifying who you're reaching by looking at objective data. Who statistically, based on your digital data, are you actually reaching right now with your products and services? And who is your ideal customer base? Who is the messaging speaking to? What is that core audience that you have? What are your second audiences that you have? Who is ideal, and are you talking to them effectively? Are your ads targeting them specifically? And so there is a lot of target audience forming. This can also look at personalities of your audience. What's their behavior like? Where are they most likely to go or to spend their money? What are the calls to actions that will appeal to them? What are the platforms that we can advertise on that will reach them based on their consumer habits and behaviors? There's a lot of almost like psychology in that sense. It's consumer psychology, and I love this. I am very passionate about kind of psychology and personality types and motivations and human behavior. So this is a super interesting aspect where you can match an offering or a service with the person most in need of that service. In that sense, it really adds a lot of meaning to work when you realize that you're kind of matching a service or product with the people who could really benefit from it and could take value from it. Number three, it's auditing marketing efforts. I will often look at, when a client comes into us, what they're currently doing to market themselves and how effective or ineffective those strategies are. So for example, are they placing traditional media buys on radio or on a CTV, a connected TV platform? Are they primarily leaning on their organic socials rather than paid media? Or if they're placing paid media, what is their strategy like? How are they diversified across different platforms? How is that reaching their target audience to be most effective for them? What could they change? How is their sales funnel either paused, or how is it working effectively for them? Look at website, paid media strategy, organic social media strategy, email strategy. Look at their marketing efforts as a whole from a bird's eye view and tell them how effective or ineffective those strategies are. This is a core component of a client kind of onboarding with us, and it does help inform kind of their scope of work and what we're actually going to advise moving forward with that we do for them versus what they may be internally capable of doing on their own end. Now, with that, I am sure that you can see that that naturally ties into brand development and messaging. Now, this may not be specifically creatively, though a marketing strategist will inform creative team on how they can take a certain brand direction and apply it visually to a logo, to a website, to creative assets that are being developed. But it is also just a very comprehensive storytelling narrative kind of work. We're going to look at the adjustments that are needed based on the information that you're getting through market analysis, competitive analysis, audience insights, and those marketing audit efforts. And you're going to see how that might shift the brand messaging and how it appears right now. This definitely takes a unique style of client who is kind of open to scaling and to change, because it is not every client who will be really open and hoping that you will develop their mission and vision statements for them, that you will help develop their brand pillars and how that affects messaging in terms of what their brand promise is, what their tagline is, how maybe it's even their brand name and what that may need to shift to strategically to own a specific niche within the market. The fifth role and responsibility is campaign creation and execution. And it depends on the marketing agency. Actually, if a marketing strategist is going to kind of own this piece, or if they're going to delegate some of these pieces out, because there is a lot, especially with larger clients, there is a lot of nitty-gritty work that goes into launching campaigns, specifically hands-on yourself. This looks like actually taking those insights that you have drawn and applying them by creating the campaigns that will execute on them. Closely tied to that is actually going to be performance measurement. You're going to pull the analytics of what you have running, see if what the theory that you started with in the beginning is actually confirmed by the data that's coming in on the back half. And so it is a very well-rounded point of view here. You are charting the course for a client and you are helping execute it to make it work. So you may end up as a marketing strategist being more on the front end, or you may end up as a marketing strategist being more on the back end, on the execution side of things. I personally am a little bit more on the front end side of things, and so I do create campaigns and execute on them, but there are members on our team who do that far more than I do. It just kind of depends on how the distribution of work happens in your own team. Okay, the final role and responsibility is a little bit broad. I'm just going to call it brainstorming, consulting, and collaboration. Oftentimes, when you are the person who holds the knowledge and the strategic insights from the research and analysis that you have conducted, then you are going to end up consulting, brainstorming, and collaborating with other members of your team in order to make sure that strategy is threaded through their various initiatives that you have going. Most likely, you are not going to be a powerhouse of one when you are working for an agency, especially with a multitude of clients. You're going to work on a team. That means you're going to have to communicate those insights that you have found into actionable steps for the rest of the team. Now, this can definitely create like a blurry line in terms of who is owning, who is delegating, and how much you own and delegate as a marketing strategist versus a marketing manager. Definitely marketing strategists, since they're thinking in such a high level way, can easily tip over into the marketing management world, in which, because you house these insights and you're going to need to communicate them, then that turns into a need for delegation. And so there needs to be someone on the team, whether it's a project manager or a marketing manager or another marketing professional or strategist on your team, who has that delegation authority. Because if you're the one delegating it, then you're actually doing a little closer to what a marketing manager is responsible for. Just a little call out for this specific kind of role. That may be something that you run into if you become a marketing strategist, is just asking those questions early on of how much delegation is part of my role versus someone else's role. Okay, so how this differs from a marketing specialist. So marketing strategist versus marketing specialist. Marketing specialist is actually kind of at the bottom, or I should say maybe top, the entry level of marketing roles. As a marketing specialist will be a little bit more, in my experience, a little bit more generalist, where they will actually end up honestly on the more creative side of things, where they probably have a Canva login. They probably are updating things on the back end of the website. So they're kind of a generalist in that they're like part graphic designer, part website developer, part copywriter. Their hands are in a lot of things, but often it is not for necessarily maybe a ad agency. Marketing specialists can often come in the private sector to be kind of the, generalist person for marketing needs. That is why I'm a little bit cautious whenever I see marketing specialist, because that means that the company is probably viewing marketing as a whole as something for a specialist to take care of. So if that makes sense, marketing is probably not a department, it's probably a set of roles and responsibilities for one individual to handle within a company. Now, how does a marketing strategist differ then from a digital content coordinator or a digital marketing specialist? Now, I have held both role titles, all three of those role titles in my career, so I think that I can very well speak to this one. And digital content coordinators or digital marketing specialists will handle things more so on the digital side of things. What that looks like specifically is launching, creating, and managing paid ad campaigns. Honestly, this is probably going to be on Google and Meta primarily. You may also be handling audio ads on something like a Spotify platform. Maybe you're placing things that involve more of a media buy on a radio or on a CTV platform, but then that gets into things that are a little bit away from the digital side of things. But you're probably going to be crafting these campaigns, launching them, managing them, and performing and pulling performance insights for them as a digital content coordinator or a digital marketing specialist. Now, digital content coordinator is a little bit broader than digital marketing specialist. Digital content coordinator may also be touching like back-end website things or Canva. Again, they probably have like a Canva login. Maybe they're designing some things, because digital content is broader than digital marketing. And so digital marketing is specifically those tasks that will drive marketing and in turn ROI for a business. Digital content could be any content, as a word is just broader. It could be anything content related, which means an asset like a video or an image or a carousel post or copy that could be on a computer. So that is why digital content coordinator is a little bit broader than digital marketing specialist. Digital marketing specialist, you can almost guarantee you're going to be placing paid ads. Digital content coordinator, I wouldn't say that that's necessarily the guarantee. That may be a little bit closer to digital marketing specialist in terms of what you're handling there. And then lastly, how this might differ, a marketing strategist might differ from a marketing manager is in the delegation portion. So a marketing strategist will hold the strategy for a given client and will help collaborate or pass that off to different members of the team. But a marketing manager will have specific marketing professionals underneath them that they are delegating out to. So a marketing manager, you should have people underneath you to where you're delegating out the workload. Okay, so let's get into salary range and expectations. Now, I pulled this for the United States. This may differ state by state. Somewhere with a higher cost of living is probably gonna have higher salary averages than somewhere with a lower cost of living. And so this is just averages across the United States specifically. So this also may not necessarily be globally applicable if there are any international viewers right now who are watching this, but specifically I pulled the average and then the range. And so I'm gonna start with the average and then I'm going to go into the range. Kind of at the entry level, you're talking about a marketing specialist. The average in the United States for a marketing specialist to earn is $73,000 annually as a salary. And the range there is going to be between $51,000 on the low end and $185,000 on the high end. Now, I was actually really blown away by the high end of this role, making almost $200,000. This definitely shows that you can get into kind of of a niche role where maybe you're the marketing specialist for a really high bigwig company and they really need you to do some specific initiatives for them. And so they're going to really value that marketing specialist role. So it doesn't always mean don't apply for it because it's going to all fall underneath you. Because yes, if it all falls on your plates, but you're making $185,000 a year, you're being valued for the work that you do. Absolutely. So just be sure that you're not falling within the 51,000 territory if you are doing a large variety of tasks and responsibilities that an entire marketing agency would normally hold. The next up, digital content coordinator and digital marketing specialist. I kind of bundled these together because they're very similar and their averages also are very similar. The average for a digital marketing specialist is around the same as a marketing specialist. It's $72,000 a year in the United States. The range starts a little bit higher and ends a little bit lower than a marketing specialist, where it goes from $58,000 to $92,000. So this one, because the roles and responsibilities are a little bit more defined than how broad of a term marketing specialist is, digital marketing specialist defines exactly what you're going to be taking care of, then the range falls a little bit lower to 92 on the upper end. Now for a marketing strategist, because this is a bit of a higher level, now you're kind of in the mid area of that ladder of marketing roles and responsibilities, the average is $95,000. The range is around $58,000 on the low end and $106,000 on the high end. So a little bit closer to kind of the marketing specialist range, but they start you higher because it is more specific. It is a little bit higher up in that. And so the average is to fall right below 100,000 because the next rung up on that ladder is actually marketing manager, which the average is $100,000 to $110,000. So the average actually does get kind of a range here. With the overall range, the larger, more comprehensive range being anywhere from $80,000 to $208,000. So marketing managers can have a wider range as well, but definitely the starting place is right at 80,000. So already you're getting more responsibility as a marketing manager, more value as a marketing manager. And so you probably know what you're doing when you're in this space. And so that's why it also can reach all the way up to $200,000, because if you're the marketing manager for a very large agency or a very large company, you are probably handling a large amount of people underneath you and super valuable initiatives that you are in charge of implementing, executing, and reporting on. So just for giggles, I decided to include a marketing director in this because that is kind of, in terms of the marketing career ladder, that is the very top of what you can reach as a marketing professional, other than kind of going rogue or starting your own business. If you're actually still working within corporate America, this is kind of the top of the ladder, which is marketing director. The average that a marketing director makes is similar to a marketing manager, where it gets a little bit of a range. It's $120,000 to $150,000. The broader range for marketing directors is 108 on the low end. So as a marketing director, you're almost certainly above six figures, and it's 220 on the high end. So definitely marketing directors have that potential to get as high up as 220. I did not include with this is the kind of side note here of social media within the title. So it might be social media specialist, social media strategist, social media manager, social media director. This is actually very similar ranges to the marketing terminology. It just means that they're getting a little bit more specific with this. Maybe it's a company that specifically manages organic social media, so they may have a social media manager, social media director as part of their role title, but the averages and responsibilities are pretty similar. They just tilt more towards social media than towards kind of holistic marketing efforts. So that is it. That is what a marketing strategist does. I hope that this video provided a little extra clarity or explanation about different marketing positions against each other. I think that it is super fascinating. It's definitely something that would have very much confused me if I was in college or just getting out of college, but now that I'm years into my career, I do have a good understanding and grasp in terms of what the marketing ladder looks like to kind of climb up it and how different companies are viewing these terms as well. I am super grateful that that you watched this video, and please let me know what your thoughts are in terms of how these descriptions felt. Maybe you have a different experience than I do, and what you ended up doing or what your salary was while working them. And so I would love to hear any of that feedback below in the comments. But thank you so much for watching this video. It means so much to me that you did. Please give it a little thumbs up if you liked it, and I will catch you on the next video.